Hey beer geeks, welcome to St Austell Brewery, and in celebration of Cask Ale Week, the good folks in the brew house have allowed Brad and I to help to brew a batch of tribute. And we are told not only by the brew team, but also by a sign in the fermenting room that has to start at 7 AM with the hoisting of the brewery flag. And so, in the spirit of trying to learn everything about how to make beer, here we are on a giant rooftop, hoisting a flag. Welcome to the Craft Beer Channel. Brad and I have drunk a lot of beers in the 13 years we've been running the channel. We've also been to over 1,000 breweries and even collaborated with a few of them. But no one's ever truly let us lend a hand to get us on shift in PPE and actually brewing ourselves. Which is why when St Austell came to us and asked if we'd like to make a film for them for Cask Ale Week, we said sure, if you'll let us brew a batch of tribute. Now, there are lots of reasons why no one has agreed to this before, and some of them are in this video.
Whoa! I've broken the line, Bradley. I've got one of the plates.
But I don't think there's a better way to explain the joy of cask ale than to show you, in first person, the skill, endeavour, camaraderie, attention to detail.
We're green, baby. We're well in spec.
And passion that goes into making a truly great beer like Tribute time after time after time. So with St Austell's blessing, we jumped on the long, winding train to the beautiful county of Cornwall, while doing some research of course, and that night found ourselves at a 130-year-old brewery, drinking with a legendary head brewer, asking for tips on how to survive our first ever shifts as professional cask ale brewers.
So George, what have Brad and I let ourselves in for? We've done a lot of home brewing. We've never really done a shift as a brewer.
Oh.
You've been doing it for a long time. What's it like?
It's hard work, it's hot.
Okay.
And you're going to have to, you know.
I think it's too late to, whatever that was, I think it's too late for us.
So, no, you're going to start off, it's not too bad here at all, actually, because we have a SCADA system, which stands for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. So basically, you are going to be using a computer to make things happen. But you will be mashing in. You will be checking temperatures and pHs, you know. Well, before that, obviously, you're going to be, you know, getting some malt in the grist case.
Yeah, picking up some sacks.
Picking up a few sacks of Cornish gold and things like that. And then you will be mashing in. You'll then have hops to weigh out. You'll have hops to put in. We're also going to get you up on the cask line, you know, putting some shives and keystones in, scraping off labels and tubs as they come back. So we're going to get you as hands-on as we can do. Hopefully yeast skimming. You know?
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not the right order.
Even we probably put that in a different order. I mean, it sounds like there's some stuff that we've shown on the channel a lot, the glamorous stuff, you know, weighing out hops, throwing them in. But there's a lot of unglamorous stuff in brewing as well that I guess people don't necessarily think about when they think about brewing, but make a huge difference to the end product.
Absolutely. But I think, you know, we are a relatively large brewery here. You know, we have systems like cleaning in place systems which involve, you know, delivery of chemicals through a pipe. You don't have to get in a vessel with a green scourer and things like that anymore.
I'm just looking forward to that.
Well, sorry.
Okay, shame. Feel like you're trying to sort of ballet your way to saying it'll be hard for us to mess it up. You've got it all under control.
I won't let you mess it up.
Oh, okay, right.
Sorry, my team won't let you mess it up.
Right.
Because I won't let them mess it up.
I mean, that's of great relief to me as well. So unless things go really wrong, and as you said, they're not going to, there's not a huge amount of influence that Brad and I can have on an individual batch because so much hard work has gone into the consistency of the product. Is that a lot of what makes a great beer? You know, the recipes, I think, as Brad and I have learned, tend to be relatively similar, and it's the processing and it's the people that go into it and it's the space that it's made that can really make those differences.
Yeah, it is. The once you've honed in your recipe, it is those standard operating procedures, it's the training, it is all the system, the quality system around making those beers. And you know, brewing is a batch process, it's a biological process. our skill as brewers is to ensure that, every season we can modify the recipe according to the hops, the malted barley, and every batch is brewed, to that really exacting specification. And it's, and to do all those checks and quality checks as we go through the process to ensure that there's minimal variation. Having said that, with cask beer, the wonderful thing about cask beer that you and I know is that, again, you get that character that comes through from the batch variation. So, it's not like, a big batch of lager, from a big brewery. There will always be slight differences, and that's what's so wonderful about cask beer.
Tell me about Tribute itself, because it's a beer that Brad and I have loved for a long time, and it's a beer that has been there as a constant throughout, I think, many people's cask ale or craft beer or just beer journeys. But it's actually quite a young beer in the grand scheme of things.
I suppose it'll be 25 years old next year, so it is quite a young beer if we compare it to some of the other cask greats. But it was different, and in 1999 when Roger created it, it was one of the first pale ales. Roger was instrumental in bringing American hops over to this country with Farrams, and the beer that he created in 1999 when he first joined St Austell Brewery was very different to the brown bitters that were coming out of this brewery, and and I think Tribute has just stood the test of time. It is a great pale ale. It's got those wonderful American juicy flavours, black currant, Parma violets, coming through.
I remember when I interviewed Roger way at the start of the Craft Beer channel, something that always stuck with me was he sort of said that he was almost embarrassed by the amount of late hopping going on because it just wasn't done that way back then. But maybe that's part of the reason why it has, because tastes have gone so towards sort of hop aroma and flavour. Yeah.
And you've got to think about it. There weren't other pale ales. There weren't really IPA. There weren't IPAs around at that time.
It was a weird historical niche back then.
So it was, and it really was very, very different. So, it went stratospheric and trying to make as much, Tribute as the brewery could do. And it really is Tribute that has made the brewery expand and expand, since 1999. It's gone from 20,000 barrels to 120,000 barrels, really because of this beer.
What time do we need to be in tomorrow morning?
Well, you're going to be on that cask racking line we'll start at 6, so let's get you in just after 7.
Okay, sure.
But we do, we're a 24-hour process here. We start at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. So, you rock up here on a Tuesday.
After that dig in the ribs from one of my brewing heroes, you'd think we'd have headed to the hotel for an early night. But no. We went on a pub crawl organised by George. Come 7 a.m. the next day, the last thing I wanted to do was cast some ale.
So it's some ungodly hour down in the beautiful Charlestown. We're staying at the Pier House, which was wonderful, but we've had one too many puddings, and cask racking's looking like a bigger arse than it was last night.
George, however, was raring to go.
So this is cask racking. I understand they've been going since 6 a.m. and we're doing a change around now, which is when we're going to be subbed in.
Yeah, so we've just finished. We've done some pins, we've now done some kilns, and we're about to move on to Tribute 9s. So we're going to let you do some cask racking of Tribute 9s.
Terrifying.
Cask racking is a remarkably long process. Empty casks come in, their shives and keystones are removed, then their steam cleaned. Next comes a check and a fresh batch label before a new keystone is hammered in. This was to be Brad's role on the line, and he was very excited to be given such a big chisel.
Pretty fun job, to be honest. I really enjoyed scraping the labels and banging that massive mallet.
While Brad got on enthusiastically with that, I was tasked with filling the casks with fresh Tribute, a process I'd seen done thousands of times, and from the flawless way it worked, assumed there was little manual guidance needed. How wrong I was. In reality, it was 5 hydraulic machines that needed me to guide their pipe into 5-inch wide holes, all aligned by eye. It was not easy, as I quickly proved the moment I got a little too comfortable.
Whoa!
broken the line, Bradley. I've got one of the pipes stuck.
I just missed the hole, taking a glancing blow that sent the pipe off at an angle and got trapped between the cask and the machine. George was less than impressed, but our man Chris came in and fixed it while I kept the other fillers moving. After an hour of casking, sweating and avoiding George's eye, it was time to head to the brew house for the second mash of the day, which was our mash.
So other than jamming the machine, that went pretty well. I never quite got what was described to me as the dream, where you're just going up and down the line, each one finishing. You've got your thing to hammer in and you're away. But that is a lot harder work and a lot more kind of brain admin than I expected that to be. And I apologise to anyone who received those casks.
At that point, George handed us over to production manager Matt, who was busy shepherding a fresh delivery of Cornish Gold, one of the two malts that make up Tribute.
So perfectly timed ahead of our tribute mashing.
Fantastic, yeah.
Another truckload of our wonderful Cornish Gold.
Beautiful, Cornish.
It's fantastic,
Yeah.
unique to us, malted and kilned by our friends at Simpsons to our specification. And what's more is it's grown for us here in the county.
Amazing.
We've got a network of farmers that we work really closely with. They'll be here later today to try our Tribute Extra Special. And each year we go to the fields and walk them with the farmers. We can jump in the combine, all that fun stuff. But we get to see the farms, feel it growing, hear from them, understand their challenges. And in a world of increasing complexity, we've got a real ownership over that supply chain.
It's unusual. Amazing.
And it makes for a fantastic product, and silk purse, sow's ear and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You need great raw materials to make a great beer.
Agreed.
With Brad's stamp of approval, we followed the malt up to the brew house, where Matt started by explaining the rather unusual journey the beer takes around this 130-year-old brewery and our role in keeping things moving.
So Matt, you're a heritage brewery, and we've already learned in the short time we've been here just how hard it is to make our way around. So before we start brewing, it'd be good to know what kit you have and how it works and
Yeah.
where these processes are going to happen.
Yeah, it takes a bit of time to follow that,
Yeah.
doesn't it? So the business founded in 1851, but the building we're in now was built in 1893.
Oh, so it's modern. It's a modern building.
And at one point, I think it would have followed quite a logical progression that would have made logical sense.
Like the Tower Brewery down, down.
As you see in the drawings. But now, with success we've enjoyed over the last 25 years or so, we've had to expand. So we fill in every crevice.
Yeah.
So it perhaps does help if we just talk through what we see in front of us here. So to our right, on the far side, is our mash tun. Single infusion mash tun. We'll take a load of about 4 tons, which will yield 170 barrels or so, equates to 680 firkins per brew. So the Tribute you brew today, you can enjoy 680 firkins of that in the pub.
And we will have earned it, yeah.
It goes from there, not into this tank, as you might assume, but actually downstairs to our copper,
Yeah.
where it's boiled. Once the wort is boiled for 90 minutes, we then transfer outside to our whirlpool, where we'll add a generous hop aroma addition, and then finally to the
Comes
tank
back
in
next
front of
door.
us here, which is our hop aroma vessel. Something which adds quite a unique and depth flavour to our beer and allows us quite uniquely to use pellets for both aroma and pellets for aroma and bittering, and then leaf hop for a really big, generous late aroma addition, adding lots of body and mouthfeel to our beers.
Right. So yeah, that's quite unusual to be using pellet and flour on the hot side. Like generally people will choose one team or another.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it is quite a nice little microcosm of where we find ourselves. We're not a big brewery, not a small brewery, not an old traditional brewery only. We've got modern beers as well. And it's another way where we find ourselves with kind of a foot in 2 different camps, which allows us to make something truly unique.
Another way where you're not entirely sure where St Austell are or where you are in the brewery. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's given us the lay of the land. Yeah. So I guess if we're going to start a brew, we at least start over there. That makes sense, right?
That makes sense.
Okay.
Find the computer, the modern brewery, and you know where you are.
Okay, that's a relief.
I was about 50% certain of what was about to happen, and although the blinking screen didn't really help, I was sat in front of it. First initiating a steam clean, and then, when the numbers told me to, starting the mash.
Right, we've got a countdown, folks, here. We're at 15. We're going to count down from 10, and then the Johnny and Brad batch of Tribute begins. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Button. Start mashing. Wait, did I click it? There I did. I can't believe I messed up the click.
Well, at least I didn't break anything this time. The liquor and grain started flowing in, and once complete, I got busy taking a sample for a pH reading
Now we're dribbling.
and checking the temperature of the mash, which is fair to say was spot on.
The brewer's happy. I'm happy. Right, so this is a form in which they put all of the temperatures, the pHs and stuff to ensure they're keeping a record of how all these mashes land and ensure that they're within spec. And I'm delighted to say that we at 66.8 should get a green. We're green, baby. We're well in spec.
The brewers were so pleased they even let me initial the brew sheet.
I have the great honour of signing one small box on this brew sheet, which will go down in history when an absolute nerd in 100 years with a YouTube channel decides to dig into the St Austell archives. They will be baffled by an errant JG.
The next job was to weigh out the hops for the kettle, whirlpool and hopback, which I got on with while chatting to Adam about the different varieties that make up Tribute's unique aroma.
So we're going to be weighing out some hops for the Tribute.
We are, yeah.
I'm going to get moving on this.
Yeah.
But tell me, what hops go into Tribute?
Tribute. So currently we've got Fuggles, which we use as T90, so that goes into our copper. Okay, we use that for our bittering hop.
Yeah.
Then we also have some Solea and Aurora. So
And that's why I've got Solea.
we've got Solea here. So this is the leaf version, which will go into our hopback. So Solea is quite low in alpha, but you get quite an sort of an earthy spiciness to it,
Yeah.
which accompanies our Willamette, which we also use in leaf form.
And that's kind of
that's
Parma Violet-y,
Parma
sherbety thing that
Violet, pine.
comes from it.
It kind of equates to like orange, like the orange kind of notes that you get in the finished product.
Yeah.
So we go over once per year and we'll do a hop selection with our supplier. And interestingly, so Willamette, there are the Putebaus, the farmers over there. So there's one family and there's one field over there which grows Willamette, which we take from them. So every year we take
it's
that
the same field.
It's the same field, and it's kind of been called, it's sort of our field of Willamette.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a great relationship with them. They produce great hops. You know, it's never a bad crop year on, year out. And they actually recently came over to see us and did a brew with us down in our small batch. But it's so little relationships that we have with our suppliers. You know, we've got it locally, but also globally, which people don't necessarily kind of realise. They come in bricks or come in big 20-kilo blocks, and we want to break them up. One, so we can extract all of those flavours, all the extracts, and the oils from the hops. But also, we're checking for foreign bodies. We're checking, you know, hop is farms. You know, things happen. It's big machinery, so you may have parts.
You're checking the aroma as well. Like
Checking the aroma. We do a sensory on them as well. The guys as they go, just
these
to
are
make sure they're nice, fresh, vibrant. We've got no cheesy or stale flavours. They're not brown. You know, they're nice green.
I'm looking forward to adding it and seeing that Parma Violet hit come out straight out of the kettle.
Yeah.
Over the next few hours, the team kept us both busy with myriad tasks. With the new grain intake, they needed to check their grist crush, which we did by hand shaking the malt through various grills for 5 minutes, before being told there was an automatic shaker. We added the hops to the boil with some very fetching gloves. We helped bring up the specialty malt bags for a brew the next day. Brad weighed out some water additions, and I took a gravity sample of the first runnings.
Bit for the jug. Little bit for me.
We skimmed some yeast from a previous batch of Tribute, and eventually Brad added half a dozen hop bags to the hop back next to the mash tun. Finally, under the guidance of Matt, Brad tapped a cask and I stepped up to do some sensory on it. The last of over 100 checks that Matt and his team do on every single batch.
Quite nervous about this, but you know, let's give it a go. That's all right. Nice. Perfect. Spile.
All right, drive it home, yeah. Very good.
That was terrible. I did a bad job. I'm so sorry, Matt.
Right, so Brad lovingly tapped this, and now we're doing quality assurance So it's going to be a bit young. It's not what they'd be receiving in the pub.
100%. So we're not expecting a huge amount of condition at this age. And there might be just a whiff of sulphur, some kind of sulphur compounds, normal at this age. And we can kind of gauge what's an acceptable level, when we would expect that to be to have dissipated before it gets to the consumer. And just a whisper of sulphur, it just adds a bit of protection from oxygen.
Sulphur.
So
Made it sound...
but we should be able to pick out all those wonderful typical tribute characteristics, you know. So we're looking for that perfect balance between malt and hops, you know, the Cornish gold playing a prominent role on the palate, you know, that malt canvas playing out really nicely, and then layered on top of that, a bit of orange blossom, and then at its best we like to describe Parma violets when it's really singing.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there is that kind of slightly purple sherbety thing, but yeah, there is egg.
there's no denying it. But at a level we are confident, you know,
dissipate.
I've drunk plenty of tribute in trade, and we've never seen it play out in trade. So it's just
not a flavour I've ever.
It's just a bit of sort of warts and all cask brewing. But like I say, it will mop up oxygen readily, and it helps to protect the hop characteristics and keeps that freshness when it gets to the pub.
Right. Okay. So you're not necessarily looking for a perfect pint here. You're looking for a pint that is within the parameters you'd expect at this point, because then you know it's going to progress.
Exactly. It's something that's typical, true to type of tribute.
Yeah. And you do this for every single batch that comes through?
100% of the batches we produce, we sample a cask. So we pull a cask off from the rack. We're judging against clarity, so appearance.
Yeah, you've got that.
You know, it's nice and bright already.
Yeah.
Lovely house yeast finds out readily and optimised, good findings. And then we're looking for aroma after that, which we've discussed. Flavour following it. So again, that malt hop balance, you should still get that hop character on the palate. And then a nice crisp moorish finish with just a modest bitterness.
And obviously this isn't the only check that you're doing, right? So you've got this is a palate check, you've got scientific ones.
Absolutely, yeah. We're blessed not only with this great sampling facility, but we've also got a brilliant lab here, great lab team, and they'll monitor the beer and the raw materials from intake. So cumulatively, we're looking at over 100 samples before we get to this stage, and this is really just the cherry on top. But for all the money we're investing in the lab, there really is nothing like the human palate to give that level of detail, complexity, and tell us, you know, that the beer is bang on where we would like it to be.
It was a late afternoon when we finally sat down for our first ever post-shift pint and found that the tribute at the brewery's Hicks bar was indeed bang on where we wanted it to be. We'd sweated and toiled, been taxed mentally and occasionally physically as we came to realise just how much knowledge and energy is needed to be a shift brewer. Not only that, but the attention to detail and commitment needed by the entire team over years and years to craft a beer like Tribute can't be underestimated. We'd certainly learned a lot, and the passion that the whole St Austell team shares is infectious.
So Bradley, it's been a long day.
Johnny, it's been the longest day.
It really has. I've never wanted to be a commercial brewer more, and indeed less.
We've put in a real shift.
We have.
And I think we've definitely earned these pints.
We absolutely have. And we've also learned a lot, I like to think. I feel like the main takeaway for me, other than don't mess around with a cask line, is that a lot of what goes into making, not necessarily great beer, but maybe great beer time after time, is all the stuff that we don't actually generally film on this channel. All these sort of hidden
processes.
Things. Yeah, hidden processes that aren't that sexy, don't have so much to talk about around them. But that is how you make really great beer, by having systems in place throughout.
It's finding minutiae, but finding beauty in the minutiae and improving over time to make something absolutely incredible. And like you say, dialed in every time, amazing beer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the amount of tests that this beer goes through, and presumably other beers, the breweries of this size, is incredible. And I don't think that drinkers necessarily consider that side of it when they have a pint.
No, definitely not all testing, and definitely not all of the energy and the team of the brew team that have sweated over making these pints.
Yeah, so there's a lot of technology going into this brew, but there was also a hell of a lot of human sweat and human palates checking and testing and box shaking and other things like that. It's a physical job that requires all of your senses.
And love of beer, love of the liquid, I think, as well.
I think to go that deep into these things, you really have to love beer.
Yeah.
And clearly everybody on this team does. The other thing that I've learned is I feel like I've come to know Tribute in a way that I definitely didn't before, because of those processes we saw, because of the ingredients that we checked in ways that I've never checked them before. You know, I've eaten malt before, I've sniffed malt, hops before, but I haven't tested them in all the ways that we did today. I feel like I know Tribute, you know, maybe better than any other beer.
Inside and
At
out.
this point, all the flavours and what goes into, you know, getting it the colour, keeping this head, that Parma Violet kind of aroma, the yeast character that's in there. I now understand, through understanding those processes, what makes this beer so special.
It's fantastic. And I think the other thing that makes this beer so special is where we are, right? So it's like this historic, amazing Victorian Tower brewery that has, you know, through the success of the beers that they make here, they've expanded out, down, up, outside, every which way. And that, you know, it's like a maze walking around here, but it's an amazing maze, full of amazement.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's where modernity meets Victorian splendor.
Yeah, to some extent.
you know,
and you
and
see that in the beer as
see
well,
that
the
in the beer
American
now.
hops with the classic
Yeah.
British malts and yeast.
I tell you, one of the things I found most charming today was the malt coming in, winched up through a hatch in the floor, and the whole brew team, they were just switching the brew teams, right? The whole
Change of the guard.
Change of the guard. The whole team, including us, because we're part of the brew team, they all came along, right? They all took a malt bag each and offloaded it and stored it. Everyone was having a great time. It felt like a, you know, real rousing thing. That's a great way to start the shift.
There might be two freelancers who work from home talking there, just missing
Yeah.
missing the camaraderie
yeah.
that comes with working in a team.
Yeah,
But
fantastic though.
It was special to see, and I think that kind of moment and these kind of beers, you know, they're worth saving. As we've been
100%.
doing with Keep Cask Alive, and there's still some time to sign that petition, but they're also worth celebrating. And this is Cask Ale Week after all.
Right.
So I hope that everybody that's watched this has seen the toil of the brewers, the toil of me and Brad. I think everybody that sees that must now be going, well, I need a pint of Tribute.
Got
I
it.
need a pint of Cask.
Yeah.
So go out there, drink Cask, get involved in Keep Cask Alive, get involved in Cask Ale Week, and just watch as two men drink a well-earned pint.
Cheers.